Alright everybody, and welcome back to my brand new video. Today we'll talk about something pretty, pretty new, you would say? Well, something very trendy, or you could say perhaps. The war in Malorussia, aka Ukraine, right? Yeah, anyway, we'll today talk about when phase two of Russia's special military operation will start, why, and so on, right? Phase two of phase two of Russia's special military operation, in my opinion, will start on Monday, the 11th of April 2022. Alright, why is it so? And also, by the way, I'm really tired right now. And other than that, I don't have a script. This is completely free form. I just wanted to upload this because I found my analysis interesting and stuff like that, right? So yeah, let's just continue. And yeah, so why do I think will this phase two of Russia's military operation start on Monday? It's pretty simple. Firstly, from what I think on around March the 27th, either March the 27th or March the 24th, I think March the 27th, Russia's first phase of its own military operation, special military operation, has ended, right? Ended. So phase one ended back then, right? And yeah, since then basically Russia has been preparing for phase two, right? So phase one has ended, phase two is about to happen, right? And yeah, and since then Russia has been preparing for it, for phase two. It has been, for example, significantly bombing how do you call it, air defense systems of Malorussia, aka Ukraine. From what I remember, Malorussia actually had like a quarter of its well, actually not a quarter exactly, 39%, right? 39% of its air defense systems, that is one or that is 200 no, sorry, 183 of its air defense systems on March the 25th, right? That's how much they had. 100 and 80, 83, right? That's how much they had. Now, 39% of it was destroyed by that point. Now, let's look at the numbers now. How much of them are left, right? Um, Firstly, 76% of the air defense systems, right, have been defeated, right? They've been destroyed. And from what I remember, only 72 of their air defense systems are left, right? So, since this preparation started, since phase one ended, these air defense systems, which allow Malorussian soldiers, aka Ukrainian soldiers, including from neo-Nazi, organizations such as Azov Battalion, the Right Sector, and whatever, yeah, these defense systems allow them to hide in buildings and stuff like that, right? And these air defense systems allow them to do that by just how do you say it in English? Sorry, but by finding the finding Russian air, airplanes and stuff like that, right? Via GPS and tracking them. Yeah, exactly. By tracking them, right? And yeah, they have only 72 of them left, so this is really bad. And The 72 number is from, I think, a few days ago. I'm not quite sure what the current number is. Maybe 70, maybe 65, I don't know. But it's around that number, right? And yeah, other than that, Russia's been building its military up in the Donbass. It has been like building a significant defense right here, right? And Mariupol has been pretty much captured. Mariupol has been captured during phase one already. If technically already during phase one, right? On March the 24th. On March the 24th, according to Kadyrov, the Chechen leader, right? Um, the either Russia or the DPR, so either Russia or Donetsk, captured the administrative building of Mariupol, right? And then Russia or Donetsk, it doesn't matter, they are uh, big allies. Anyway, started to administrate the administrative building in Mariupol, which the Russians lost. And then, the siege of Mariupol has actually exaggerated, right? So it basically destroyed the communication, stuff like that. Street after street is being captured much more easily in Mariupol. Um, yeah, what else is there to say? And yeah, I think the battle has already ended on March 24th, right when it started to be administered by Russia or Donetsk. It doesn't matter, same thing. But um, even when Stalingrad fell, right, when it started to be administered by the USSR again. There were still insurgents for 1 week, and the same is going on right now. For 2.5 weeks, what is left in Mariupol are just insurgents, and even they are completely dying right now. The port of Mariupol has been captured. Everything has been captured. Central Mariupol. All what's left is Azovstal. This this bio laboratory, this plant there in Mariupol, which has allowed the Belarusian soldiers to hide there, the Ukrainian soldiers, right? And now this plant is also about to be captured, Azovstal. I'm not quite sure if it has been captured yet, right? I'm not quite so sure about that because it's 9 p.m. right now, 9:30 p.m. right for me, Moscow time, right, and it could have been captured perhaps a few minutes before I start preparing for this video or so. I mean, not everything's possible, no, unlikely possible, and yeah, I don't. Yeah, and it's about to be captured as well, right? And when a city is administered and all the resources there, the construction, everything, the way the city runs, and stuff like that is being determined by the country that administers it. So it's basically under the control of the country that administers it. So yeah, what's left are insurgents. You can't call them anything else. Right, and the insurgency in Mariupol will soon end as well. I'd say about tomorrow, Azovstal will be already captured on Sunday, right? And after Azovstal will be captured, phase two can definitely start. Right. Those are the reasons I think why the phase two hasn't started yet either, right? Anyway, moving on to phase two. And yeah, I also think that phase two will start on Monday because phase one, basically the special military operation of Russia generally, started on a Monday, right? On February the 24th. That was a Monday, right? I think that phase two will also start on a Monday. Monday is a good day to start this, right? Because on Monday, because on the weekends the soldiers rest, especially right now, on Saturday, Sunday, they're resting, right, and also preparing their training and stuff like that, so they can launch in another assault, right? And yeah, then the working week, you could say, for the soldiers will start on Monday, and then around Monday, maybe a few days later, maybe even tomorrow, on Sunday, the second phase of the military operation will start. I think though that phase two will start on Monday, right? On April the 11th. All right. So what will happen in phase two of the special military operation? Well, firstly, all of Donbass will be liberated. Definitely. I'm zooming in right now here. Um, you can probably see here Luhansk, right? Pretty much almost all of Luhansk has been liberated. Pretty much the only major city, major town, in um, Luhansk that is left is, sorry, is Severodonetsk, and Novendonetsk is the city called in English, or I think it's called like that in English. Just search up Severodonetsk if you want. Severodonetsk, and that city will be captured right away because it has been encircled. It has been done. It you when you also are cooking, right? You need the ingredients, right? And basically, the ingredients, everything for an assault to happen on Severodonetsk has been prepared, right? Now the city just needs to be, liberated, needs to be conquered, right? Um, right. So you could say the cauldron now needs to be cooked. That's what they're gonna do there, and I think that they are gonna go after Severodonetsk. I think Severodonetsk they'll concentrate on the most, but at the same time they also launch an offensive here in Donetsk, the Donetsk Oblast. Capture all the cities like Slavyansk, uh, Kramatorsk, and whatever. They'll capture all this. I think that will be a um, major, um, how do you say it, a goal of phase two, right? And they also have to destroy all the defense lines here that the Ukrainian soldiers, the Belarusian soldiers, have been building up for 8 years. So, people often complain about how Russia hasn't captured much cities other than, Kherson, Melitopol, pretty much Mariupol at this point as well, and Izum and Volnokhava. And well, let me tell you something. It doesn't matter how much cities Russia captures. What's important is destroying these defense lines that the Russian soldiers, the Ukrainian soldiers, have been setting up for years, for nearly a decade, right? These are very, very well organized defense lines, right? And it doesn't matter how much cities that Russia captures as long as they don't defeat those defense lines. Because if you don't defeat those defense lines first, you'll have to you'll have to how do you say it? Then basically insurgents will come back and back and back again. They'll launch new assaults, and you can't really cook a soup without the ingredients. You know what I mean? Um, and if you try, you might get poisoned, and you don't want that. You don't want these insurgents to arise and then, you know, cause a massive unrest. Sorry. Yeah, and perhaps even recapture some cities. You don't want that. Plus, Russia is focusing on only hitting. Russia is only focusing on only hitting um, military targets and not civilian targets. Russia is trying to avoid hitting civilian targets as much as possible, right? If Russia did not pay attention at all to the civilians that live in Malorussia, aka Ukraine, yeah, the war would have been over within a week or so. Um, yeah, for example, you can look at Mariupol, right? Russia has been trying to negotiate with the stubborn not neo-Nazi, but they do need finance neo-Nazis for sure. Ukrainian state, which is just a US puppet government really since 2014. Russia tried to negotiate with them on evacuating civilians from Mariupol. What did Ukraine do? They did nothing um, to, evacuate these civilians. Every time, negotiations happened, they failed, or they succeeded, like, they made some sort of agreement, but they did not, uh, they did not actually fulfill their agreement in practice because always some sort of idiotic neo-Nazis were preventing civilians from being evacuated. You can read about this if you want. All information that I'm collecting, and well, not all, but the vast majority of the information I'm collecting about this war, it's from Kotomodern, Kotomodern. You can look this Telegram channel up. It's on Telegram. On Telegram, it's a Marxist channel, by the way, and the Russian one, right? So, I might put a link in the description down below or something for Kotomodern, so you can read the Russian Marxist news about this war and good updates, right? The updates there also are very unbiased, right? The people there are trying to it's mostly just reposting sources from other. Yeah, anyway, as I was saying, Kotomodern, they basically just repost updates from other Telegram channels and they try to, make it as unbiased as possible, right? They combine information from both the Russian side and the Ukrainian side, but only the truthful, right? The truthful updates, the truthful information. They don't post misinformation, right? So you can get a very accurate glimpse of this war in that Telegram channel, right? I definitely recommend it, and yeah, yeah. And basically at some point Russia just didn't want to negotiate with the Ukraine's government anymore on the evacuation of civilians in Mariupol, so the Russian government just decided to evacuate them themselves. If you can't do it together, why not do it yourself? You know, it doesn't. You have nothing to lose. Um, and yeah. Anyway, in phase two, and another objective will be to capture this city, Nikolaev. Nikolaev is the most important. Sorry, I will not probably edit this, but I'm just too tired and want to upload something. Yes, I'm sorry. Um, this city, Nikolaev, I think it's in the Nikolaev Oblast. Mm, it's the most important battle of the war, the most important city. It's much more important than Kiev or something like that. Much more important than Kharkov or Lvov. All right. Well, yeah. Anyway, Nikolaev is a very important city, and let me explain to you why Nikolaev is so important. Well, well, Nikolaev firstly is the gateway to Odessa. And you know, Odessa is a very important city. It's the gate sorry, not the gateway. It's um Odessa basically is a port, right, as we know. And it's giving the Ukrainians access, their true term is actually Molorussians, access to the sea, right, to the Black Sea. Now, since Mariupol has been lost by the Molorussians, they don't have access to the Azov Sea anymore, right? Yeah, and if they lose access to the sea, they become a shithole. Well, they are already a shithole, if you didn't know. In 2019, Moldova, their neighbor here, surpassed them, yeah, in economic development and living standards. 85% of Ukrainians live under the poverty line as of 2019, so they are very, very poor, right? And yeah, well, if Russia captures Odessa, it doesn't yet fully take away their access to the sea. Well, because you know they have to also capture the Odessa obelisk, right? Well, at least the land close to the sea, right? Including Izmail, which is a very important city, very important town. Um, yeah, Russia will have to take all this here, and yeah, they concentrate on liberating the rest here. Yeah. Anyway, other than that, it's possible. Yeah. Anyway, Russia will focus here and on the and then on the Donbas. I think that Russia will also likely focus on Kharkov. What a lot of people don't understand is the reason why Russia actually withdrew from the north here. Um, so why did Russia withdraw from the north of Ukraine, from Kiev, Chernihiv, Chernobyl, and Sumy, stuff like that? Why? What is the actual reason behind this? Well, listen. Um, Basically, just staying there is a burden. That's the simplest way to say it. The Russian soldiers, Russian troops, and stuff like that are under constant, where under constant pressure by the on the north, because you know Ukrainian soldiers were constantly launching attacks against the Russian army in the north, right? And yeah, and this pressure that was being put on the Russian army was kind of unnecessary, totally unnecessary. Why stay there? You know, Russia's goal is not to capture Kiev right now. Well, it is a goal. A lot of people think that uh a lot of people think that Russia has abandoned its goal of taking Kiev and Chernihiv and Sumy, whatever. No, Russia did not abandon these goals. Russia just doesn't want to focus on these cities for now, right? Because a city like Nikolaev that I've just talked about, or Odessa, are much more important, and you know, getting the Donbas as well is much more important than any of these cities. Forget about these cities. What the main battle is gonna happen here, and if Nikolaev is captured, it's done. The war is over. Well, not instantly. I mean it metaphorically, right? And the Ukrainian army was doomed from the start, but if they lose Nikolaev, a doom is completely guaranteed for them. They can't do anything if that happens. And yeah, what I find interesting is that Kharkov, that the Russian soldiers did not withdraw from Kharkov Oblast, but they did from the Sumy Oblast and the Chernihiv, sorry, I'm really tired, Chernihiv Oblast, as well as the Kievan Oblast. Right, they withdrew from there, but not from Kharkov, meaning that Kharkiv, sorry, that's the English name for the city. Anyway, um, yeah, I think that the reason why they did not withdraw from Kharkiv, from the Kharkiv Oblast, is because Kharkiv can just be taken, right? The cauldron, the ingredients are already ready for the cauldron, right? For the soup to be cooked, right? The ingredients are ready. Now they just have to cook it, right? And if Russia makes a new massive offensive, together with all the fucking unnecessary troops they had in the Kiev Oblast, the Chernihiv Oblast, the Sumy Oblast, the Poltava Oblast, I think is this an oblast as well? It doesn't matter. The Zhytomyr Oblast, they can now fight here. They can fight in Kharkov, not just Kharkov, but also Nikolaev. They can fight here, right? And pretty much everything that is left in Kharkiv are just are just neo Nazis, with Toyota cars, in Kharkiv, which can't do anything much except for maybe hiding in buildings. Yeah, and this is, by the way, how much Ukrainian skills in the war have deteriorated. The military skills, that is. They are riding Toyota cars because they don't have enough tanks and combat vehicles. I actually, according to the data from today, from around early this morning, April 9th, Ukraine actually lost 84% of their tanks and other combat vehicles, right? And not only that, they also lost 58.3% of the field artillery and mortars, 42.6% of their multiple launch rocket systems, 83.5% aircraft of their aircrafts. The rest, by the way, the other 16.5% are defunct. They don't work. They can't fly with them. They actually managed to repair some aircraft in the last few weeks. Right. So just because they're defunct doesn't mean they're destroyed. And don't work at all completely, right? Still, um, 65.7% of their helicopters were destroyed. 103%. You heard me right. 103% of their UAVs. Basically, what happened is that they had 36 UAVs, right? And basically, they all got destroyed. And then they got one UAV, I think, either from the US or the EU or UK, basically. They got one and lost that one as well, basically. They lost 103% of their UAVs. Yeah, and yeah, this is a bit. This one is a bit updated. Outdated, but they also lost 76% of their air defense systems. Those are massive military losses. In total, they lost 71% of their military, at least of what I just read out, like of 71%, like of aircrafts, tanks, and combat vehicles, multiple rocket launch systems, helicopters, UAVs, field artillery and mortars, all that combined, and air defense systems and whatever, all that combined. 71%. They lost 71% of that, right? Less than 30% of their military is left. Of course, I excluded their soldiers, right? Their army. because there, yeah, there will be a lot of them left, right? And there still are a lot of them left. If I'm not mistaken, about 85% of their soldiers are still left, right? Of their manpower, and so yeah, I don't think we should really calculate that. I mean, still, the reason why we should calculate them that is because modern wars can't be fought without technology, and that generally you can't fight wars with good equipment, which is proven yet more and yet again and again in history. You can look at the medieval era as well, as our armor was improving. They also had to improve their weapons because with weapons from the ninth century, they couldn't fight in the 14th century, right? Because the armor got too OP, you could say. Anyway, um, now let me read out some of the current statistics for of the Ukrainian military. They have they have 385 tanks and combat vehicles left, 629 artillery and mortars, 307 multiple launch rocket systems, 25 aircrafts, 51 helicopters, and 72 air defense systems, as well as 0 UAVs. Yeah, this is their current military, and it's weak as shit. Well, and right now preparation is happening for phase 2, right? Imagine what happens as soon as Russia, you know, launches a new large, offenses. The military, all these things, all these aircrafts and whatever, it will be obliterated, just obliterated. And then the last 5 days during the preparation alone, they lost 95 of their tanks and combat vehicles alone. This is just those are just their combat vehicles and tanks. They also lost a lot of their artillery and mortars, as well as a lot of their helicopters and so on, right? No, they'll lose even more, right? Hello. I recorded this video yesterday on Saturday, April 9th, 2022, right? And well, basically, we got new updates of Ukraine's military losses. I would like to read them out because I think that this is very interesting, right? And it could also give you a picture of how much they lost in the last 24 hours, all right? Around an hour ago or so, as I'm editing this, the Russian Ministry of Defense on Telegram, you can follow them, published new updates on Ukraine's military casualties. Let me read them out. So in total, Ukraine lost 85% of their tanks and other armed combat vehicles, 59.2% of their field artillery and mortars, 43.3% of their multiple launch rocket systems, 83.5% of their aircrafts, 65.7% of their helicopters, again 103% of their UAVs, and 78% of their air defense systems. Currently, the Ukrainian military has 365 tanks and combat vehicles left, 615 artillery and mortars, 51 helicopters, 25 aircrafts, 303 multiple launch rocket systems, and 66 air defense systems. In total, they lost 72% of their military. Yeah, and I think that the phase 2 will actually be launched on 3 fronts, you could say. I think that the Donbas will be attacked, as well as Kharkiv and Nikolaev, all at the same time, or at the very least at the same period of time. Right? Because, the first phase also started with an attack on several fronts. In the Donbas, in the northeast, in the north, in the south, like, Kherson, Zaporozhe, Kharkiv and so on, right? Sumy, Chernihiv, Kiev, whatever. It was, it happened. Several fronts at the same time. And I think it will be the same this time as well. And the Ukrainians don't really stand a chance. It's useless, especially the fact that they have only 29% of their military left. Of the technology that I read out at least. Yeah, and basically this war in a lot of ways is like an exponential function, right? I'm not sure if you guys are good at maths, but let me explain it. Let me explain it to you like this, right? An exponential function works like this. Well, the exponential growth, right? There is for exponential growth, there is also exponential degrowth. I think you can call it. Yeah, and basically, the more this war will progress, the more it will go. The more it will go on, the faster it will end. Well, of course, this is logically, but the rate it's ending at is also becoming faster and faster, faster and faster. That's what I mean. Because the reason behind this is that the more military they lose, the more tanks, combat vehicles, aircraft, whatever, you name it, they lose. Um, the the faster this war will end, the faster they will lose, right? The question is whether or not they'll surrender. I don't think they'll surrender. The reason, they can't win this war, really. They can't win it. And this is actually why they are, killing civilians and stuff like that. This is why they are just paying no attention to civilians. They're just bombing the shit out of their own country. They're destroying it. They know they'll lose. And you know who will pay for this, for the destruction that they will cause? Russia. Because Russia will, take this country. No, the US won't pay for this destruction. No, the EU won't pay for it. The UN? No, fuck the no. You think the EU the UN gives the shit. The US and the EU can just the US, UK and France can just block any attempt by Russia, to ask for international aid. It's useless. Right? Wait, give me a second. And basically, anyway, I think that this is the reason why they're doing so much destruction. I think they're to make Russia, to put an economic burden on Russia as much as possible. Because Russia will be the one who will have to, fix this shit. Yeah, and I think that this command was actually given to Ukraine and especially to these neo-fascist organizations such as Azov Battalion and the Right Sector and whatever by the United States, because the United States basically is just a mask of this massive puppet state. The US just gave up Ukraine. It's not of no use. Like, this is just a failed state. There is no difference between Ukraine, especially when you look at the Donbas region. You know, especially the borders of the Donbas region before 2022, from 2017 to 2022. You'll see that this is just there's no difference between this or Iraq, Libya, Yemen, Syria, Somalia, maybe Haiti as well, or any other failed state. And you look at the economy as well. It's just dying. It's getting worse and worse. Yeah. Also, they're also losing on their economy. This is a bit outdated, but I think about 2 weeks ago, right? They 86% of their enterprises had stopped functioning, right? I think in early March, only 50% of their enterprises didn't function. So they are both losing their economy and their military, right? So this is a massive defeat for this country, right? Anyway, this is a failed state. There's not really much to gain from it. I mean, what is the US supposed to gain from this? What is the US supposed to gain from this? Especially the EU. Merkel and Macron actually told Zelensky back in 2019 to join the Union State with Russia, basically integrate with Russia. They ever since 2019, Macron also has been going for you know abolishing the sanctions against Russia because these sanctions are just useless. All they've done is just make Russia strong and the EU weaker. Have you seen, for example, the agricultural industry of Greece? It's absolutely fucked because of all these sanctions. Have you seen the fucking... Generally, the entire EU has been fucked because of these sanctions. Even Spain is getting fucked even more now because of these sanctions, except even though Spain is barely dependent on Russia, this has been a massive defeat for the EU. And now, anti-establishment forces are growing not all over the EU, but in you know in a lot of places in the EU. For example, in Spain, there are massive farm protests right now. The Fox is growing. Fox is the neo-nationalist, anti-establishment, right-wing populist party. Well, national-oriented bourgeois party is the more correct word, not neo-nationalist, because they don't want to leave the EU. They are anti-EU federate though, but still. They are growing in polls. Well, it's not just the farmer protests, it's also because of the recent elections in Castile-León region in Spain, where PP, the People's Party, the liberal conservative establishment party of Spain, formed a coalition uh, with Fox. That actually predicted months ago that Castile-León will be similar to the Thuringian 2019 election, but that's a story for another day. In Italy, poor children are, begging Draghi, the Prime Minister of Italy, to stop the sanctions and give them food. Right. What else? In France, yeah, France has been a complete shitfest. Prices in France are growing for everything, just like in Greece, Italy, and Spain and Germany. In France, oil prices are rising. In France, gas prices, although they use nuclear energy for their heat, are rising, and that's been really bad for the economy. Food prices are rising. For example, in sunflower oil, the same goes for Germany. Pretty much everything. They have massive shortages in sunflower oil though. Yeah. Gas prices have grown from $300 per 1,000 cubic meters in the EU to 3,000. From 300 to 3,000, right? They grew by 10 times. Do you know what this is? A 1,000% increase. Right. $300 already before this war, before the sanctions that this war in 2022 put on Russia. Um, already before, the war, these $300 per 100,000. Sorry, not 100,000. Sorry, 1,000 cubic meters. Alright, that was seen as a lot. And now look at this. Oh my god. The EU does not want this, trust me. The EU does not want these sanctions. It's just hurting them more and more. And it's causing all these anti-establishment forces, be it Giorgia Meloni and Matteo Salvini, brothers of Italy, and the Lega in Italy, grow. It's called or Marine Le Pen in France, in the Front National. It's or Fox in Spain. It's just causing all these anti-establishment forces to grow bigger and bigger. The only reason why the EU is doing this is because they're dependent on the US, and the US wants these sanctions. I also want to note that the US actually wants this war, alright, to hurt itself. This may sound a bit crazy, but Biden was put in power by very liberal bourgeois forces in the US to make the US collapse, right? I mean, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist now, but Biden is a Rothschild puppet. I'm not saying that everybody is like financed by the Rothschilds or something, right? There are also the Rockefellers, there are also the Morgans, there are also the Kochs. The Kochs, by the way, are financing the anti-lockdown movement and all these anti-vax and anti-climate change conspiracy theories. And there are also the Oppenheims, the Astors, the Disneys, I could name entire list, and those are not the only ones. The Rothschilds, right? There are even in the establishment. I just named more in the establishment. You also have yeah, basically yeah. They want to remove. They want the Rothschilds want Biden to make the US collapse. The question is why. By the way, the Rockefellers, they don't want the US to collapse. Okay, why? The dollar has been a burden to the Rothschilds because it's keeping the monopoly on oil of the Rockefellers alive. The Rockefellers want the dollar to be strong. They want the US to exist. The Rothschilds not. Because this, because the dollar, and also because the dollar to a large extent hinders the euro from becoming stronger, which the Rothschilds support more. Anyway, and the large reason as to why well, look, you can't seriously tell me that someone like Biden, right? Biden literally falls downstairs recently while meeting Obama. In 2022, he has said, "I'm Joe Biden. I'm the vice president of Barack Obama." And someone who sleeps in the fucking UN Parliament and who calls by mistake his vice president Kamala Harris by accident President Harris, and is generally making the US worse and worse and is making it collapse. You can't tell me that that a guy like this, right? You can't tell me that a guy like this is not put in power to not make the US collapse. I think to a large extent why the Rothschilds actually managed to win with Biden is also because of Trump, right? The Republicans of the party of the Rockefellers, they used to be at least, they used to be, no, not anymore. Still, they still have some influence there. For example, Mitt Romney is still in the Republican Party, so someone who's part of the establishment, right? Right. Yeah, that guy's basically a Rockefeller in Serbian, right? And basically, um, the Rockefellers had no choice. They were sort of forced to go with Biden. That is the establishment, united behind Biden, because they don't want Trump to succeed. Trump wants to prolong the USA's collapse until 2040 or 2050, around that time. This is why this is why Trump losing in 2020 is good. It's good that Trump won in 2016, and it's good that he lost in 2020. It's not good to, continue these unnecessary decades of history. It's better to make the US collapse as fast as possible and finally make more better advancements in the world. And yeah, Trump, was destroying all these establishment bourgeois efforts. you know, to establish surveillance capitalism, which is basically microchipping, people. Trump was destroying that. Trump also destroyed the Trans-Pacific Alliance, so the U.S. could not build connect the U.S. To the Pacific and the Atlantic at the same time. The U.S. is still uh, connected to Canada and Mexico as well as the Atlantic via NAFTA as well as NATO, but not to the Pacific. And Trump destroyed the attempt to connect the US to the Pacific, which was very good of Trump. And yeah. What else can I say? Yeah. I also want to say that it's very interesting that Trump's slogan is "Make America Great Again." Why does Trump say that? What is the meaning behind the slogan? Well, we are going a bit off topic, but still I want to clear this. Why does Trump um, want, sorry. Why does Trump have the slogan "Make America Great Again"? It's because he wants to return, the greatness, the strength, of the American industry, right? The what, the American industry is not strong again. For example, if in the U.S. I know about this, I've read about this. In the U.S., European products, of the EU are seen as of high quality. People don't like American industry anymore, and pretty much American industry has just moved to China at this point. Trump doesn't like that, and neoliberal reforms of Ronald Reagan and Jimmy Carter have also pretty much destroyed the American economy and the American industry, right? And Trump does not want the American industry to be so weak. He wants it to be strong. It to be strong the way it was from around the 1930s, 1920s, I'd say, 1920s to 1980s. Right. Alright, yeah. This has been quite a long video, I'd say. 15 minutes though. Maybe I'll also show you how this war will go on. I'll just put this here somewhere on the screen, okay? Somewhere here. Look at the screen, okay? Look at the screen. Yeah, then you can look at what I think the chronology of this war will be. I hope that YouTube won't just make it very low quality the way it did last time. I hope it will be much higher quality this time. Yeah, anyway, goodbye guys. This has been fun, and I've been actually ranting for a very long time, and yeah, it's very late. Goodbye. And one more thing, I'll put the source for the showing of Rostov showing of Russia in the description down below because I'm really lazy, sorry. Bye.